Hi, my name is Sean Gold. I am 22 years old and I am a student at St. Louis Community College. My home campus is Flow Valley, and I have been here since 2017. I will be graduating in May 20th, 22. I graduated high school in May of 2017, and at the end of the month, I was already in my first college class. Before I graduated high school, on my 18th birthday, I passed my first Microsoft certification for web design. I also attended all regular classes. However, the degree that I'm going for is creative writing. I was able to self-publish my debut book last year on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. To ask me what I would like to be in life is an interesting question. My simple answer would be an author, advocate, and public speaker for people with disabilities. I've been invited here today to give you an insight into what it's like to be in the real world as a college student while having my disability, or as I prefer to call it, physical challenges. I'll also be sharing the challenges that I've been through because of my limited abilities. My physical challenge is cerebral palsy and I also have a tracheostomy breathing tube. I have my trach because my airway was not open like it should have been when I was born. Due to that, I rely on my breathing tube as my main source of breathing. However, I only consider that to be an ability because it gave me a way to breathe on my own. Living with a physical disability myself has caused some setbacks in my own life and it still does today. Part of the reason as to why it's so difficult is because of the pre-assumptions made by people without disabilities. I know that everyone in the world has some type of disability, but there's still a big difference between seeing me as someone with less ability to do something versus seeing me as someone with a disability. I think that the biggest one would be that I can't communicate or understand what people are saying, which is stupid. That's the blame of the media making it seem like it's one blanket disability trait. Just because people are nonverbal, it never gives you the right to disregard their presence. While I can't verbally communicate, I can still communicate. Cerebral palsy, or CP for short, affects my movement abilities. The exact diagnosis that I have is mixed athetoid spastic diplegia. The athetoid causes shakiness and the spastic diplegia makes me have spasms at random times throughout my body. This is also why I can't use my left hand as much as I would like, and why I get fatigued faster than an able-bodied person. The cause of cerebral palsy is a brain injury or brain malformation that occurs while the brain is developing before, during, or after birth. As a result of the brain damage during brain development, a child's muscle control, muscle coordination, muscle tone, reflex, posture, and balance can be affected. Everything that I've just listed has had an effect on my body. As a toddler, I was using a walker and now I no longer need one. Being a student at St. Louis Community College has been one of the most amazing experiences of my life. I can honestly say that I've made lifelong friends and connections that will stay with me forever. I appreciate the Access Office for giving me any accommodations that I request within reason. Whatever I need, they find a way to provide it and it's the best. They let me say what accommodations I need and we work out the best solution together. One accommodation was in my math classes. I had difficulty remembering all of the formulas, so I emailed and got approval for an equations sheet as my accommodations. My favorite accessibility access has been my live virtual lecture classes. That's one major thing that I hope never goes away even after the pandemic. By having the option to be in class virtually, not just by online forums, is disability justice. It's a right that should be given to us instead of taken away once it's over. I can guarantee that more disabled students will pick those options for their schedule. The main reason why I prefer this option is for a multitude of reasons. First, I love how easily accessible they are. I don't have to rely on my family to drive me to and from classes, which takes away from their work time. The biggest thing that disabled people want is independence. Independence has to be the most common word talked about, as it is the goal. I didn't need to wait for anyone. Removing this from future semesters would be a huge setback for the college. I don't want to see this happen. That would be ableist. For those who don't know, the definition of ableism is discrimination or prejudice against people who have disabilities. Ableism can take the form of ideas and assumptions, stereotypes, attitudes and practices, physical barriers in the environment, or larger-scale oppression. It is oftentimes unintentional, and most people are completely unaware of the impact of their words or actions. You can easily relate this word to feminism and racism, all based on discrimination. One example is seeing someone like myself holding hands with their significant other, but mistake them as their caregiver. Or how about praising the able-bodied for simply being a hero just because their best friend is in a wheelchair? This also forms the idea that the physically and mentally challenged communities aren't valued to the workforce or everyday life. Which simply isn't true. We can be doctors, lawyers, mothers, fathers, and even the President of the United States if given the opportunity. Speaking of this pandemic, I have learned a lot about how big of a detachment this country has between different cultures. I'm not only talking about racial, but the distinction between able-bodied people and the disability and chronically ill community. Ever since the news reported that the elderly and disabled people were going to be the most affected, I began to see many protests against the lockdown and disregard everything. If my community needed any more of a validation of how little we are valued in this country, that was it. I find it hilarious that the things that disabled people have been begging for decades to get, you as an able-bodied person got it in 2 weeks in the beginning of the lockdown. Online advocacy is still advocacy. It is still protesting. It is still community organization, effective, and validating. Within the community with Black Lives Matter and the Stop Asian Hate movements, both have connections with the disability community. While most people were outside protesting, disabled people including myself did it through social media. So many people forget the true power of things like Instagram and TikTok. In fact, TikTok has been proven over and over again that it is more than a place for dangerous challenges and silly videos. I've only been on the app for 1 year and I already have 20,000 followers. There's a feature specifically for question and answers where I had people ask all disability-related questions for the month of July. I cross-post on Instagram doing the same thing pretty much. I have made plenty of friends in the disabled and author communities with these two apps. Most of my book sales probably came from TikTok. I can say that this app has surprisingly been very useful for my advocacy and public speaking career. One of the videos could be calling out misinformation, another could be just explaining a disability term. Even misinformation could be harmful to disabilities. I recently called out a video where a teenager was proclaiming proudly that he was cured from autism through prayer. He claimed to have gone from autism to ADHD to just ADD. I'm a Christian, I believe God can do miracles, but that was such a lie. There is no cure for autism. All that video did was promote eugenics, which is basically killing off disabled people because our community is viewed as invaluable, which is sadly legal. However, I also educate on fun things from time to time as well. Instagram is another great app for disabled people to connect, all social platforms really. I now have a posting layout on my page, and I cross-post my TikTok videos on my Instagram. During the lockdown I was able to meet some of my favorite celebrities, became friends with Vicky Vox, who is a famous drag queen, and I even got a virtual selfie with Lonely Love from The Real. Also, Jeannie my from The Real watched my TED Talk. The thing is, I don't like it when people disregard online resources as those are the tools that connect us the most. Especially the disabled community. I want to express my appreciation again for inviting me to speak today. I hope my words provided you with information and insight into the disability community, both at St. Louis Community College and in the world. Thank you.